Meet Daniel Reeves, a 28-year-old event planner known for his perfectionism, calm demeanor, and eye for detail. On the surface, he's the guy everyone trusts to make their special day flawless, but inside, he hides a secret far heavier than anyone could imagine. Once engaged to the radiant and fierce Charlotte Grace, Daniel had it all: the dream job, a loving fiancé, and a future set in rose gold. But what no one saw behind the closed doors was Daniel's identity crisis. His fascination with femininity wasn't just a kink or phase, it was a part of him he never fully understood, let alone accepted. Despite loving Charlotte deeply, he had buried this side of himself. But on the night of their rehearsal dinner, Charlotte walked in on Daniel in her bridal gown, fully dressed, makeup perfect, eyes tearful. Shock turned to silence. And then silence became rage. The wedding was called off. She left. No one spoke of it again. Now, 2 years later, Daniel lives alone in a sleek downtown apartment in Chicago, minimalist and cold, a far cry from the warmth Charlotte once brought into his world. He's thrown himself into work, often planning weddings for people who remind him of what he lost. Each gown he arranges, each vow he rehearses, a slow torment. But there's something else. That moment wearing the gown never left him. The memory wasn't just traumatic. It awakened something real. Something that never went back into hiding. In private, he still dresses, still explores, but always with guilt coiling around his heart like a vine. His wardrobe is split in two: men's suits pressed and color-coded on one side, delicate lingerie, flowing dresses, and heels hidden behind a false panel in his closet. By day, he's Daniel the professional planner. By night, he's someone he doesn't fully have a name for. Not yet. Daniel hasn't seen Charlotte since the incident. But she hasn't left his mind for a second. He tried emailing, messaging, even writing a letter he never sent. No response. Rumor had it she moved to New York. Started over. But that rumor dies abruptly one stormy Friday evening when Daniel receives a gold-embossed envelope in his mailbox. No return address. No note. Just a wedding invitation. Bride: Charlotte Grace. Groom: Evan Lancaster. Venue: the Glass Chapel. Planner: Daniel Reeves. His hands go cold. He didn't apply for this booking. No one requested him. And yet, the deposit was paid. The paperwork legally signed in his name. It's not a mistake. Charlotte has pulled him into her wedding. And Daniel senses, deep in his bones, this isn't about closure. This is revenge. The mood in the opening is melancholic, reflective, and quietly unnerving. There's an undercurrent of dread beneath every elegant sentence. We see a man grappling with shame, identity, and heartbreak while the past begins to claw its way into the present. The emotional tone balances vulnerability with suspense. Daniel is fragile, but we sense he's on the verge of something powerful, be it transformation or destruction. As Daniel closes the invitation, a single line handwritten on the back catches his eye. If you still want to wear the dress, Daniel, you'll get your chance. His breath catches. This isn't just a wedding. It's a game. One she plans to win. And she knows exactly how to break him. Daniel can't sleep the night he receives the invitation. Charlotte's words echo endlessly. If you still want to wear the dress. Was it a trap? A taunt? A challenge? He stares into his mirror, his clean-shaven face, lit only by the vanity bulbs above. Behind the glass door, his hidden closet waits like a siren's call. He opens it, pulls out a silk slip. His fingers tremble. Why did she ask for him specifically? Why now? Does she want him to break again, or become something else entirely? Guilt claws at him. But so does the thrill. This isn't just about Charlotte anymore. It's about who Daniel really is. Charlotte's new assistant, Sophie, reaches out for pre-wedding logistics. She's suspiciously nice, almost flirtatious. She insists on Daniel meeting Charlotte at the venue for a walkthrough. At the Glass Chapel, Charlotte appears regal in white even at a casual fitting. Her presence slices the air. She smiles without warmth. The past isn't ignored, it's weaponized. I hope you've improved since the last wedding, she says, looking him up and down. This one must be flawless. Daniel notices something odd. One of the mannequins in the back room of the bridal suite is dressed in Charlotte's old wedding gown, the very same he once wore. Sophie catches his gaze and winks. Charlotte said it would be poetic. That night, Daniel returns home, and despite everything replicates the gown's look. He styles his hair, applies makeup, steps into heels. He becomes her, not Charlotte, but the version of himself he feared and loved all at once. He walks, twirls, gasps quietly. But even in this illusion, Charlotte's voice intrudes. If you want to wear the dress, you'll get your chance. Days pass. Meetings intensify. Sophie seems to enjoy baiting Daniel. She leaves him alone with racks of bridal gowns. Accidentally sends him a link to women's shapewear. Subtly encourages him to try the gowns on, to feel the design better. Daniel resists. Until he doesn't. One evening, the boutique is empty. Charlotte is running late. Sophie forgets something in the car. Daniel's fingers brush across the satin of the gown. He locks the door, pulls the dress over his frame, steps into it slowly, like reclaiming lost skin. And that's when Charlotte walks in. Not angry, not surprised, but calm, smiling even. I wonder how long it would take. Daniel freezes. Charlotte circles him like a lioness. This time you won't run, she says. This time, we finish the ceremony. He panics, but her tone is different. Then she drops the line that rattles him. The wedding won't be complete unless the right bride walks down the aisle. Charlotte's manipulation becomes clearer. Every choice, every moment she's orchestrating his transformation. She adds bridal duties that feel oddly performative, helping model bridesmaid dresses, getting his measurements taken for tailoring reasons. Sophie introducing him to hormone-friendly cosmetics, a spa trip where he's encouraged to wax for uniformity. Charlotte praises him publicly, but privately, she whispers things like, "You're doing so well, Daniel." Or should I say, Danielle? He wants to run, but he doesn't. And that scares him more than anything else. Daniel starts living a double life again. At work, the planner, masculine, reserved. At night, Danielle, soft, sensual, entirely herself. He practices walking in heels, sleeps in a chemise, wears perfume under his button-up. His dreams shift. No longer nightmares of Charlotte's anger, but visions of walking the aisle in her place. He doesn't know if Charlotte is destroying him or helping him be reborn. And maybe she doesn't know either. On the eve of the wedding, Daniel receives a box on his doorstep. Inside, a veil, stockings, the shoes he wore the night she caught him, a note, time to say yes to the dress. He rushes to the mirror, puts on the ensemble. As the veil drapes over his face, his reflection blurs between the man he was and the bride he's becoming. He doesn't cry. He doesn't laugh. He just whispers, "I'm ready." Kyle had barely settled into the strange normalcy of post-breakup life when an elegant envelope arrived at his doorstep, white with silver trim, sealed with a wax impression of a rose. He almost mistook it for a wedding invitation. He wasn't wrong. Inside, a formal card read, "You are cordially invited to the private wedding celebration of Miss Jessica Hart. Dress code, formal. Special roles to be assigned upon arrival. Venue, Silverwood Manor, Saturday at 4 p.m. His heart stuttered. Jessica? Getting married? The name was common enough, but the handwriting, no. It was unmistakably hers. Elegant loops, confident strokes. Kyle hadn't heard from Jessica since she stormed out. He'd checked her social media countless times, nothing. Now she was engaged? He stared at the invitation, dread and curiosity pulling him in opposite directions. What if it was a trap? Or worse, what if she'd truly moved on, leaving him behind in a trail of lace and cold silence? But the words "special roles" tugged at something deeper in him, a flicker of the games they used to play. Roles. Rules. Dresses. He tried to brush it off, but he knew he'd go. The manor loomed like a Victorian daydream. High archways, ivy trailing up white stone, chandeliers glowing through frosted windows. The valet took his car and handed him a red envelope. It bore his name, Kyle Room 3. Inside, the house smelled of lavender and old wood. Dozens of people mingled, strangers in tuxedos and gowns, but none he recognized. A few women giggled as they passed him, whispering something he couldn't hear. Room 3 was upstairs. When he opened the door, he found it empty except for an ornate wardrobe and a note pinned to the mirror. Your role awaits. Put everything on. No exceptions. The ceremony begins at dusk. Kyle's fingers trembled as he opened the wardrobe. It was a wedding gown. Lace, silk, delicate pearl buttons. And beside it, a corset, heels, stockings, a veil, and a wig. The ensemble was unmistakably bridal. He stared at it in disbelief. His heart raced. What was this? Was she mocking him? Or was she testing him again? Kyle stood frozen in front of the wardrobe, the layers of white staring back at him like a dare. The gown shimmered in the low light, whispering promises and threats in the same breath. He ran a hand across the fabric. It was real. Soft. Heavy with meaning. His palms were sweaty. He had cross-dressed before, but always in secret, and never like this. Never for someone else's amusement or command. Never in a wedding dress. But something in him ached. His mind wrestled. You should walk away. This is a trap. But his body began to move. Piece by piece, he obeyed the note. He stepped into the silk panties, first delicate and tight, like a secret gripping him. Then came the stockings, rolling up his legs, smooth and sensual. Next, the corset. He struggled, twisting to clasp it, tightening it inch by inch until his breathing became shallow and his waist cinched. His male shape faded, overtaken by curves and form. The wig was long and dark, matching Jessica's. His reflection morphed. Mascara, lipstick, foundation. He followed the instructions left beside the vanity. She knew exactly what shade he used. The last piece, the gown. He slid into it like a dream. It hugged him, then blossomed in layers at the skirt. A mirror across the room revealed a bride. A beautiful, trembling bride. He stared at her, at himself. Who was this? Who had he become? A knock at the door. He panicked. Yes. A female voice responded, calm and professional. Miss Hart asked me to deliver this. A slip of paper was slid under the door. He picked it up. Good girl. Now walk down the stairs. The ceremony awaits. The guests are eager to meet my bride. His heart dropped. My bride. What was this? A wedding? Or something worse? He walked through the hallway, heels clicking against the hardwood floor. People turned to look. Some gasped. Some laughed softly. Others smiled knowingly. But no one stopped him. Down the grand staircase, the ballroom glowed with candlelight and roses. A small string quartet played something hauntingly sweet. At the altar stood Jessica, in a tuxedo. Sharp, confident, predatory. And when she turned to face him, her eyes drank him in like a prize. Well, she purred. Don't you clean up beautifully? Kyle's breath caught. What is this? Jessica smiled. A celebration. Of your new role. You always wanted to be mine. Laughter rippled behind him. Guests watching. Applauding. He was the bride. And there was no escape. Kyle stood frozen at the makeshift altar, his heart thundering beneath the tight bodice. The music faded. All eyes locked on him. Jessica extended a hand, her tux crisp, her smirk sharper than ever. Say, I do, she whispered, just loud enough for the room to hear. Come on, bride. This is what you wanted, isn't it? Kyle didn't move. He scanned the crowd, faces from college, old colleagues, even his sister. All smiling. Some confused. But no one stopped it. No one came to help. This wasn't just a prank. It was a reckoning. A flicker of memory hit him. He had cheated. Not physically, but emotionally. Secret messages. Pictures. A virtual affair with someone Jessica never met. When she found out, she didn't scream. She smiled and said, Don't worry. I'll handle it. He thought she'd broken up with him. But now, this was her revenge. I didn't mean to hurt you, Kyle whispered, voice cracking as his lipstick quivered. Jessica stepped closer, brushing a strand of the wig from his cheek. But you did.
And now?
You'll feel what I felt. Kyle flinched. By dressing me up? Publicly humiliating me. Her gaze softened for just a second.
No.
By making you love it. And hate that you love it. The room went quiet. Jessica turned to the guests. Does anyone object to this union? No one spoke. But Kyle did. I do. Gasps erupted. Jessica raised an eyebrow. Kyle stepped back, lifting the veil from his face, letting it fall to the floor.
You wanted me to break, Jess.
But I'm not broken.
I chose to put this on.
I walked down those stairs. I looked in the mirror and didn't run. He breathed deep. I like who I am. And maybe I hid that because I was scared of you, of all of you. Jessica's expression froze, her power slipping. But I'm not afraid anymore. He turned to the crowd. You want a show? Here I am. Take a good look. He curtsied. Bold. Defiant. The silence shattered with applause. Jessica's smirk returned, but it was different now. Tired. Resigned. She walked up to him and whispered, "This wasn't how it was supposed to end." Kyle replied, "It never ends the way we plan." She leaned in and kissed his cheek. Game over, husband. As the guests began to murmur and disperse, Kyle walked off the stage alone, heels clicking, gown flowing. He didn't belong to her anymore. He belonged to himself. The wedding video went viral. Clips of Kyle bride gown, wig, heels, and all circulated with hashtags like #runawaygroom and #briderevenge. But surprisingly, most comments were positive, supportive,
celebratory.
Some even called him brave. But Kyle hadn't left the house since. He sat at the vanity in his now empty apartment, still in the same gown, the corset loosened but never removed. He stared at his reflection. Not at Kyle. At her. The woman Jessica tried to force into the light. But now he wasn't sure she wanted to go back. His phone buzzed. A new message from a contact labeled simply, "Jay, did you finally understand who you are now?" Kyle's hand trembled.
He didn't reply. Bang. Bang. Bang.
It was nearly midnight. Kyle froze. No one should be visiting. No one knew he lived here. He'd moved right after the wedding. He crept to the door, peeking through the peephole. A package sat on the doorstep, wrapped in silk ribbon. No name. No note. What's in the box? He hesitated, then opened it.
Inside, a gown.
Not just any gown. The exact same wedding dress he wore that day, only this one was custom-made. Fitted.
Perfect.
On top, a handwritten card. We never finished the vows. See you soon.
Jay.
Kyle's lips parted. A chill ran down his spine. He turned to the mirror again. Behind him, his reflection smiled. I didn't say I do before, but maybe now I will.
Kyle hadn't touched the box since it arrived.
It sat in the center of his apartment floor like a cursed relic. Black ribbon. White wrapping. No return address. Just one word, written in silver ink across the top. Forever. He had tried to ignore it. Tried to sleep, to eat, to return to the shadow of a life he had before Jessica's wedding trap, before the veil was lifted on his secrets, his desires, and the twisted revenge that followed. But the dreams wouldn't let him go. Jessica standing at the altar with that wicked smile. Her voice, soft as lace and sharp as scissors. You should have worn the gown first. Now here it was.
The gown.
Kyle knelt beside the box, his hands trembling. He told himself it was just fabric. Nothing more. Just a sick prank from a bitter ex. But deep down, he already knew this wasn't a prank. This was a command. He pulled the ribbon. The bow unraveled like a heartbeat quickening. The top of the box lifted with a hiss of cardboard, and inside was silk.
White.
Shimmering.
Perfect.
The wedding dress was unlike the first one. This wasn't a bride's cast-off. It was tailored, fitted.
His size.
Even the shoes beneath it, a pair of pristine ivory pumps, were exactly his measurements. As if Jessica had known him better than he knew himself. A folded note sat on top. He hesitated, then picked it up. In her handwriting. You never got to walk down the aisle.
Let's fix that. Put it on.
The game isn't over.
J.
Kyle dropped the letter like it burned.
No.
No, he wasn't doing this again. He had escaped. He had survived her little trick. Her revenge. Her cruel, humiliating mind games. He had gone back to wearing his old clothes, forcing himself into his old self even if they never felt right again. But the dress, he stared at it longer than he should have. His heart pounded. His palms were slick. It called to something inside him he had tried to bury. Something that had whispered in the mirror ever since that fake wedding day when he'd seen himself in the bridal gown and realized, with terrifying clarity, he had looked beautiful. And even worse, he had liked it. He backed away. Turned.
Paced.
Then came the knock. A single thump on the door. Kyle froze. Eyes wide. He crept to the peephole. No one. But when he cracked the door, something slid in. A single white envelope with golden wax seal, stamped with a rose. Inside was a photo.
Kyle's heart sank.
It was him, the photo clearly taken from across the street just hours ago. Him, staring into the open box. Looking scared. Vulnerable.
Caught.
And on the back of the photo, in looping script, say yes to the dress. Or I'll show everyone who you really are. His breath caught. The walls closed in. He slammed the door, locked it, double-locked it. Jessica wasn't done. She had him again. But why now? And what would she do next? The dress lay on the couch now, graceful, expectant. He sat across from it, staring. Outside, a storm was brewing. Thunder rolled like warning drums. Rain slashed the windows. Kyle buried his face in his hands. Not again, he whispered. But deep down, he already knew he was going to put it on. The storm didn't let up all night. Thunder cracked like judgment over Kyle's apartment, echoing his own restless pacing. The dress sat on the couch like a ghost waiting to be acknowledged. Every time he looked at it, he felt the heat rise in his chest. Shame, yes, but also something else. Something dangerous. Something honest. He told himself he wouldn't touch it. But by morning, it was hanging in front of the full-length mirror. He hadn't even remembered doing that. His reflection haunted him. Pale, tired eyes. Jaw clenched. Chest heaving. And just behind him, draped on a hanger like a vow yet to be broken, was the dress. Jessica's dress. Or maybe now his.
He made tea.
Skipped work. Pulled the blinds shut like hiding from the world might erase it. But the envelope stayed tucked in his pocket. Every few minutes, he felt the edge of the photo against his thigh. A reminder. He could burn it. Throw the whole damn box away. But what if she had more? What if she wasn't bluffing? His fingers brushed the soft fabric of the gown. His skin buzzed. His breath hitched.
No.
Not again. He had escaped this. His phone rang. Blocked number. He hesitated. Then answered. Jessica's voice poured through the speaker like silk dipped in venom. I see you still like to play dress up, Kyle. He froze. What do you want? To finish what we started. You stole my wedding, remember? Thought you could walk away without consequences. It was a game. You said so. And you played it so well. But games have rules. And you broke mine. His voice cracked. I didn't mean to. Oh, you meant to enjoy it. I saw your face. I still have that video, by the way. You looked happier in my gown than I ever did. He swallowed hard. What do you want me to do? There was a pause. Put it on. Kyle's heart thudded. And wait. Someone's coming. The line went dead. Kyle nearly tore the dress in panic. He ran to the door.
Locked.
Double-checked. He wouldn't open it. But 20 minutes later, the doorbell rang. He didn't move. Ding-dong. Silence. Ding-dong. His heart thundered. He crept to the peephole. No one. But when he opened the door, a sleek black suitcase sat alone in the hallway. No note. No person. Just the suitcase. He dragged it inside, chest tight. Opened it slowly. Inside, makeup.
Wigs. Jewelry.
Corset. Hosiery. Even perfume. It was a complete transformation kit. Kyle backed away. This wasn't a threat anymore. It was a script. and somehow a part of him wanted to follow it. He resisted until dusk. But something in the stillness of his apartment cracked him. He opened the suitcase. He pulled out the wig, first long, dark chestnut curls, almost identical to Jessica's bridal hair. He ran it through his fingers. Then the corset. Then the stockings. Each piece whispered, "You're not hiding anymore." Before he could stop himself, he was halfway dressed. The corset tightened around his waist. His hips flared with padded precision. The stockings kissed his legs like secrets being kept. And then the gown. He stepped into it like stepping into a version of himself he had buried. Zipped it up, turned,
and gasped.
He didn't recognize the person in the mirror. But he didn't hate them. He looked
complete.
The knock came an hour later.
Soft.
Deliberate. He froze in place, heels clicking against the hardwood as he approached the door. This time, she didn't hide. Jessica stood there. Same red lips. Same smirk. Black trench coat against the rain. A bouquet of black roses in hand. Her eyes raked over him from head to toe. "Well," she said, stepping inside uninvited. "At least you followed instructions." He stammered. "Why are you doing this?" She walked behind him, pulling the zipper up fully, tightening the bodice. "Because you never really finished the ceremony. I thought it was over." "It's never over, Kyle. Not when you say I do to the wrong identity." He turned to her, eyes brimming. "Is this still revenge?" She leaned close.
"No.
This is rebirth." Kyle stood frozen as Jessica lit black candles across the living room. She had transformed the space. White drapes hung over curtain rods, a small table stood like an altar, and the dim lights glowed with an eerie warmth. "You're insane," he whispered, breath trembling through painted lips. Jessica smiled. "You promised me forever in front of a mirror. Now, let's make it official." He looked down at himself. Satin gloves, corset-cinched waist, full bridal gown swaying with every breath. Makeup perfect. Wig styled. He looked like a bride. He felt like one. And that terrified him. "Take it off," he said. "I'm not playing this anymore." Jessica walked toward him, slowly. Calmly. "You don't take off a wedding. You annul it. And even that comes with rules." She pulled out a piece of paper. Not white. Blood red. "Read it." He hesitated.
"Read it."
Kyle swallowed. His hands trembled as he unfolded the page. It was written in flowing script. The bride of broken promises, accept my fate. I wear this dress not as a costume, but as confession. I surrender to the truth I've denied and vow to never lie to the mirror again." His voice cracked. "What is this?" Jessica tilted her head. "The truth. You were always more real in that gown than out of it. You wanted this before I ever made you wear it." He dropped the paper. But it felt true. Too true. Another knock at the door. Kyle backed away in panic. "Don't worry," Jessica said with a chilling smile. "They're just here to witness." He shook his head. "No, who did you invite?" The door creaked open. 3 figures stepped in. Masks.
White.
Featureless. They said nothing, just sat on the couch like judges awaiting testimony. Kyle turned to Jessica, breath tight. "This is too far." She leaned in, whispering against his ear. "They already know. They've always known. They just needed you to say it." He looked at the silent figures, then at the dress clinging to him, and he realized he couldn't tell if they were strangers or people he knew. That was the terror. He tried to rip the dress off. Jessica grabbed his wrists.
"No.
You wanted this. I didn't choose this. You did. Every time you looked in the mirror. Every time you slipped into lace when no one was watching. Every time you wished I'd find out, and didn't." Her words stabbed deeper than any knife. Because part of him had wanted to be caught. Wanted the secret to stop being a secret. He broke. He dropped to the floor, hands over his face, mascara smudging with tears. Jessica knelt beside him. "You wore the gown, Kyle. But now you need to wear the name." Jessica stood him up, led him to the makeshift altar. The masked guests rose. She placed a ring on his finger, hers. The one she never got to wear on their real wedding day.
You owe me vows, she said.
Kyle's voice shook. You said this was just a game. And you believed it, she said bitterly. But games reveal truth. That's why you kept playing. He stared into her eyes.
Saw her pain.
Saw himself. I was scared, he whispered. I know. I didn't know how to stop. I don't want you to stop, she replied. I want you to become. What now? He asked. Jessica touched his cheek gently. Now you choose your name. He blinked. What? You're not Kyle in that gown. You never were.
Say it.
Tell me who you are. His voice cracked. But the answer came from somewhere real. Sabrina. The masks nodded. Jessica smiled and kissed her former groom. Welcome back, Sabrina. The candles had burned low. Shadows danced along the walls. Kyle now, Sabrina, sat still in the bridal chair, veil draped delicately over her face. Her corset pulled tight, the stockings bit softly into her thighs, and the satin skirt pooled around her in perfection. She hadn't moved since the ceremony. Jessica paced slowly behind her, voice steady and haunting. They say wedding night is for consummation. But in this marriage, it's for transformation. Sabrina flinched. Jessica leaned in. This is the night I take over. A black leather folder landed in Sabrina's lap. Inside documents. Signed by her. Or the version of her who still called herself Kyle.
House.
Bank account.
Car. Control.
You signed it all over to me a month ago, remember? Jessica said with a dark smile. When you thought I was bluffing. You played the submissive husband because you thought it was a game. Sabrina's eyes widened. That wasn't real. Oh, but it was, Jessica said, flipping the final page to reveal a notarized seal. Everything about this is real. Just like your reflection. Sabrina tried to stand. Jessica gently pushed her back down. You said I do. Now sit pretty. That's what a bride does. Jessica guided Sabrina to the full-length mirror. Look. The image looking back at her wasn't Kyle anymore. It was Sabrina. Lips glossed. Eyes widened in fear and confusion. But something else too. Acceptance? You've worn the dress long enough, Jessica whispered, that it's worn into you. Sabrina stared. She couldn't tell where the lie ended and the truth began. Maybe there was no lie anymore. Jessica gave the command. Undress slowly. Sabrina hesitated. Jessica stepped closer. You obey or I call the guests back. The threat worked. One glove slid off. Then the other. Then the corset's laces were undone, trembling fingers slipping with every tug. Her skin was damp, breathing shallow. She removed the gown. Jessica handed her something new. A maid uniform. Short, frilly, humiliating. Sabrina blinked. Why this? Jessica smirked. Because every bride has duties. And I've got a house that needs cleaning. An hour later, Sabrina scrubbed the marble floor in heels. Jessica sat nearby sipping wine, smiling softly. Every command Sabrina followed without question. Because for the first time she belonged somewhere. Even if it was beneath her ex-bride's heel. Suddenly, the doorbell rang again. Jessica raised an eyebrow. Right on time. Sabrina panicked. No, who is it now? Jessica motioned to the mirror. Whoever it is, they'll meet her. Sabrina's breath hitched. Would she answer the door? Would they recognize her? Would they see through her? Sabrina stood frozen in front of the door, her trembling fingers clutching the doorknob. Behind her, Jessica sat composed on the velvet couch, swirling her wine like a queen awaiting a show. Answer it, Jessica commanded. But what if they see, what if they know? Sabrina whispered, heart pounding beneath the frills of the maid dress. Jessica's smirk cut like a blade. That's the point. Another knock. Louder. Impatient. With a deep breath, Sabrina opened the door. On the other side stood Ava, Jessica's best friend and Kyle's former coworker. Her eyes ran slowly from Sabrina's painted toes to her perfectly blushed cheeks. There was a flicker of surprise, then understanding. Well, Ava said, stepping in casually. I see the rumors were true. Sabrina's face drained. Are rumors? Jessica answered smoothly from the couch. Oh, Ava's known for a while. She's the one who helped pick out your shoes.
Sabrina gasped.
Ava winked. And they suit you so well. Over the next hour, Sabrina learned the truth. Jessica had never played this game alone. Ava had been her confidant from the beginning. She had read the diary Kyle thought was hidden. She had seen the photos on Jessica's phone. She had planned this night with Jessica down to the second. You weren't just exposed, Ava whispered, leaning in. You were unwrapped, like a gift. Sabrina, humiliated, tried to pull away, but her heart fluttered with something she couldn't name.
Fear. Excitement.
Relief? Jessica opened a drawer and retrieved a small velvet box. Inside, a second ring. This was never about revenge, Jessica said. It was about rewriting our vows. She approached Sabrina, slowly sliding the delicate band onto her finger. You always said you wanted to feel like my bride. You just never said it out loud. Tears welled in Sabrina's eyes. I didn't know how, but now you do. Jessica knelt before Sabrina. Tonight, I offer you one chance to walk away. No collar, no contract, no makeup. Sabrina stood silently. Then she stepped forward. She extended her hand, and Jessica smiled as she clasped it. The sun filtered through the gauzy curtains, casting golden light over the quiet bedroom. Sabrina stirred in bed, her long lashes fluttering open as soft satin brushed against her skin. Jessica was already awake, watching her from the armchair near the window. Sleep well, Mrs. Stone, she said with a teasing tone. Sabrina blushed. The ring on her finger wasn't just for show anymore, it felt heavier today. Realer. Too well, Sabrina murmured, voice still husky from sleep. Are we actually doing this? Jessica nodded. Oh, we're past pretending now. That day began differently. No more games. No commands shouted like dares. Just quiet routines that felt alarmingly normal. Jessica handed her a to-do list. Organize the wardrobe. Prepare lunch for the Wives Club arriving at noon. Practice walking in heels again. It wasn't punishment, it was expectation. As if this was just how life was now. And strangely, it felt right. With each task completed, Sabrina felt less like a man in costume and more like someone coming home to herself. The doorbell rang. Sabrina opened the door to 3 elegantly dressed women. They greeted her with warm smiles, not mockery, not suspicion. One even said, "You're glowing, Sabrina. Jessica was right, you belong here." Over tea and finger sandwiches, they asked questions about her skincare routine, her favorite shade of lipstick, her thoughts on commitment. No one flinched. No one blinked. This wasn't a trial. It was a welcoming. By the end, Sabrina laughed freely, her voice high and graceful. She belonged. That evening, Jessica lit candles across the living room. She wore a white pantsuit. Sabrina, in a flowing ivory gown from the back of the closet she once feared opening. Jessica took her hands. You've lived as my bride. But tonight, I marry you to your truth. She read a single vow. From now until always, you are not just wearing this life. You are living it. Sabrina, tears slipping down her cheeks, whispered, I do. The ceremony ended with a kiss and a gift. Jessica placed a small key around Sabrina's neck. This is the key to your closet. Your choice. If you ever want to walk away, use it. Sabrina clutched the key tightly, but something deep inside whispered she never would. Sabrina stood before the full-length mirror, smoothing the floral apron over her peach satin blouse. Her movements were delicate, practiced, second nature now. The house smelled of fresh-baked muffins and lavender fabric softener. She wasn't pretending anymore. This was home. A knock at the door. Sabrina opened it cautiously, only to freeze. Her old best friend, Kyle, stood there, eyes wide in disbelief. Bro, what the hell? He scanned her from head to toe, heels, painted nails, soft curls. There was no hiding now. I go away for 1 month, and you're someone's wife. Sabrina swallowed. Her voice trembled, but didn't break. Not someone's. Hers. Jessica appeared behind her, calm and composed. "Would you like to join us for tea, Kyle?" He didn't speak, just walked in stunned. The silence over tea was unbearable until Sabrina broke it. "This started as revenge. I wronged Jessica. She made me wear the dress as punishment."
Kyle blinked.
"And now," she smiled, wiping her lipstick with a napkin, "now I wear it because it's who I am." Jessica added gently, "She was never forced, just unwrapped." Kyle slowly nodded, still processing. "I don't understand it, man. But you seem happy."
Like, really happy.
"I am," Sabrina whispered. That night, Sabrina stood alone with a small cardboard box. Inside, old photos. A necktie. The last pair of boxers she hadn't thrown out yet.
She stared at them.
Then gently closed the box, sealing it with tape. Jessica joined her. "Ready?" Sabrina nodded. Together, they slid the box into the fireplace. As the flames devoured it, she felt something lift from her shoulders. The last remnants of him gone. Jessica led her to the bedroom. Laid out on the bed was a new dress, sleek, black satin, custom fit. "I had it made for you," Jessica said. "For tonight." Sabrina stepped into it, the zipper gliding up her back like silk. Jessica handed her the mirror. And in it, Sabrina didn't see a joke or a punishment or a game.
She saw a wife.
Herself. Jessica whispered in her ear, "No more roles. No more games. Just us." Sabrina held her hand, eyes shimmering. "No more escape," she whispered. "No more regret. Just her life. Her love. Her truth. Forever." The end. Red heart, fire, revenge was just the beginning. Her transformation was the real story.